My friend, let me ask you a question that can shake the foundation of your faith. How well do you really know God? We live in a time where people can quote verses, sing worship songs, and attend every service, yet still feel empty, distant, and unsure of who God truly is. It's not that we don't believe in Him, it's that we haven't taken time to know Him personally. Knowing about God is easy. You can study Him like a subject, describe His power, and list His miracles. But knowing God Himself, that's a journey of the heart. It's when your faith moves from your head to your soul. It's when the storms come and instead of panicking, you whisper, I know He's with me. This message will not just inspire you. It will challenge you to examine your relationship with the Creator of the universe. Because your peace, your strength, and your destiny depend on it. So don't turn away now. The next few moments may open your eyes to something you've missed for years. Not religion, not routine, but a real, personal, life-changing relationship with God Himself. Stay with me, because by the end of this message, you won't just know about God, you'll begin to know Him for yourself. My friend, let me begin with a question that reaches deeper than you might think. Do you know God, or do you just know about Him? There's a world of difference between the two. You see, many people can talk about God with confidence. They can describe His miracles, recite His promises, and even explain His word, but their hearts have never truly met Him. They have knowledge in their minds, but not intimacy in their souls. You can study the ocean from the shore, read every book about its depth, and still never feel the power of the waves against your skin. The same is true with God. You can fill your head with facts, but until you step into His presence, until you experience His grace, you haven't truly known Him. Some of you have been in church for years, listening, learning, even serving, and yet there's an emptiness that you can't explain. That's not because God is distant, it's because He's waiting for you to draw closer. He's not looking for people who know His statistics. He's looking for hearts that seek His face. The question isn't how much theology you can quote, it's how much time you've spent with Him. When was the last time you sat in silence and felt His peace surround you? When was the last time His word stirred something deep inside you? Not information, but transformation. My friend, knowing about God will impress others, but knowing God Himself will change you. And that difference, that sacred difference, determines the strength of your faith, the peace in your soul, and the power that carries you through every storm. My friend, knowing God is not about memorizing verses or mastering doctrine. It's about entering a relationship that transforms everything about you. When you truly begin to know Him, something shifts deep within your heart. The way you think changes, the way you speak changes, and even the way you see the world changes. Because real knowledge of God doesn't come from information, it comes from intimacy. You can't know God from a distance. You can't stand on the edge of faith and expect to experience His fullness. You've got to walk with Him step by step, day by day. It's in those quiet moments when no one is watching, when you whisper your fears and He answers with peace. It's when your strength runs out and suddenly His power carries you through. That's when you begin to know Him, not as a distant deity, but as a living, loving presence. The relationship you build with God is not casual. It's personal, it's powerful, and it's life-changing. It takes your worries and turns them into worship. It takes your pain and transforms it into purpose. When you draw near to Him, He begins to reveal who you truly are, not what the world says, but who He designed you to be. Some of you are longing for change, searching for peace, fighting battles that no one else sees. The answer isn't in trying harder, it's in knowing Him deeper. Because when you know Him, your faith becomes unshakable, your hope unstoppable, and your love unconditional. That's the power of a relationship that transforms, the power of truly knowing the one who made you. And when that relationship begins to grow deeper, my friend, something beautiful starts to happen. You begin to recognize His voice, not the voice of the world, not the noise of fear or doubt, but that gentle, unmistakable whisper of God speaking to your heart. The truth is, we live in a world that never stops shouting. Every day we are surrounded by opinions, distractions, and demands that compete for our attention. The noise is loud, constant, and confusing. But in the midst of that noise, God doesn't shout, He whispers. You see, the voice of God doesn't demand attention, it invites it. It's not the thunder that shakes the sky, it's the still, small voice that calms your soul. But to hear it, you've got to quiet everything else. You can't hear Him through the static of anxiety, the rush of business, or the echo of your own doubts. You've got to make room, sacred, intentional room, to listen. There are moments when His voice speaks not in words, but in peace. You'll feel it when chaos surrounds you, and yet something inside says, be still. You'll sense it when the world says, give up, but that quiet assurance says, hold on. That's the voice of the one who knows you better than you know yourself. If you want to walk with God, you must learn to recognize His tone, the tenderness of correction, the comfort of love, the clarity of truth. Because the moment you begin to hear His voice clearly, confusion loses its power, fear loses its grip, and your steps become steady even when the path ahead seems uncertain. And once you begin to recognize that voice, something even greater unfolds. You start to encounter God personally, not just in sermons, not only in Scripture, but in the everyday moments where His presence becomes undeniable. That's where transformation truly begins. Because hearing God's voice is powerful, but experiencing His presence changes everything. Think about it. Moses heard the call from a burning bush and was never the same again. Isaiah saw the Lord high and lifted up, and his life's direction shifted forever. Paul met God on the road to Damascus, and his purpose was completely rewritten. Every true encounter with God leaves a mark that time cannot erase. You can't meet Him and remain unchanged. Maybe your encounter won't happen on a mountaintop or in a blinding light. Maybe it will happen in a quiet room when your heart finally surrenders. Maybe it will come in the middle of your pain, when His comfort wraps around you like a blanket in the cold night of despair. That's when you realize He's not a distant God, He's a present God. When you encounter Him personally, your doubts begin to fade. The questions that once troubled you no longer shake your faith, because you know the one who holds the answers. His touch brings strength where weakness once lived. His presence fills the emptiness that success, people, and possessions could never satisfy. You see, my friend, a personal encounter with God isn't something you just talk about. It's something you live through. It changes your priorities, your purpose, and your peace. From that moment on, you no longer chase after proof of God's existence because you've already met Him. And when you've met Him, truly encountered Him, your life can never look the same again. Because once you know who He is, you start to live differently. You no longer walk as someone searching for meaning. You walk as someone who's found it. The storms still come, the winds still blow, but something inside of you stands firm, unshaken, because you know the one who commands the wind and waves. When you truly know God, you don't just talk about faith, you live it. You don't just quote promises, you stand on them. You don't just pray when you're desperate, you walk in constant communion with the one who never leaves your side. The same power that raised Jesus from the grave begins to rise within you, giving you strength to face what once made you tremble. The difference between those who know about God and those who truly know Him is seen in how they live through difficulty. Some crumble under pressure, but those who know Him, they shine in the dark. They find peace in pain, courage in chaos, and hope in what looks hopeless. Because they've learned that knowing God doesn't remove the storm, it reveals His presence in the storm. My friend, when your life reflects the light of His presence, people around you notice. They see calm where there should be panic, joy where there should be despair, faith where there should be fear. That's not religion. That's relationship. That's what happens when you Stop merely believing in God and start living with Him every single day. It's not just knowledge, it's power, it's peace, it's purpose alive within you.